Really appreciate everybody jumping in. Let's waste no time, man. Let's get into it. The quick risers, according to Daniel Jeremiah. I put the list that he gave and just kind of added some little scouting blurbs to it, if you will. But you guys make sure you go check out his article. It's way more valuable than anything I write, obviously. But again, want to give credit to Daniel Jeremiah. This is his list. This isn't Clayton's top 10 riser list. This is Daniel Jeremiah, former NFL scout. All right, so here we go. Based on Daniel Jeremiah's standout list from the 2026 Senior Bowl, here are the scouting reports and injury histories for each prospect. You're going, okay, so you're including injuries too. Why, Clayton? It's important, man. It's important to understand that, hey, these guys flashed and they flashed recently, but what's the injury history been like, right? Just to give you a little blurb, a little snapshot of where their injury history is. And I see everybody following in. If you would, smash that like button for me. We greatly appreciate it. Every time you do that, it lets other people know that we're live. And yeah, thank y'all so much for doing that. Number one on his list, and again, he didn't specify whether it's in this particular order of value or not. He just had them listed off. Maybe these are the guys that flashed the most to him, but we're starting with the running back out of Indiana, and that's Kaelon Black. All right, running back, Indiana, your national champion, Indiana Hoosiers. I know there's a lot of Wisconsin fans that watch this show just threw up on their keyboard. I get it. I understand, man. So scouting report, Black is a runway back who excels with high-end acceleration and vision. He consistently plays at full speed, showing a competitive edge that allowed him to transition seamlessly from a 16-game national championship season to the Senior Bowl practices. While not a, quote, bruiser who will move piles, his ability to hit the hole and reach top speed quickly makes him a dangerous change of pace weapon. All right, so again, you got a guy that's maybe not a bruiser, but got that quick burst, that acceleration, right? His 10-yard split, probably going to be through the roof. So we'll keep an eye on that as we get into combine season. Injury history, dealt with the knee injury in 2021 and a broken finger in 2022. Earlier in his career, he managed minor lingering issues in 2024, but remained healthy throughout Indiana's 2025 title run. So most recently, guys, no injury concerns here whatsoever when it comes to Kaelon Black. Everything pretty minor, and here recently, looking pretty good. Now, when you dive into our PTA big board, we've got him lower on the list here. We got him, I think that's at 283 is where we've got him out. Again, okay, so how do we get to that? His 2023 grade, he was 305th at his position. No 24 grade, 2025, 63rd graded running back. Not bad, right? A lot of running backs in college football, that's for sure. PFF Big Board, however, had him at 207. The consensus Big Board had him at 425. He gets the 5-point bonus from Daniel Jeremiah for the Senior Bowl. That lands him at a final grade of 226.7. So even though he's in the 283 spot, that 226 kind of justifies, hey, somewhere around the 220 range wouldn't be a bad pick for Kaelon Black. Again, that's Kaelon Black out of Indiana. Moving along now, Bud Clark, safety out of TCU. He was one that really flashed to me. I definitely agree with DJ on this one. It just seemed like every time you turn on the Senior Bowl, if he was on the field, he was flashing. He was looking good. So scouting report on Bud Clark, safety out of TCU. A true ball magnet, Clark is a rangy free safety with elite production. He had 15 interceptions over his final 4 seasons. He possesses excellent man coverage, recovery, and natural ball skills, often finishing reps with one-handed interceptions or opportunistic pass breakups. His versatility allows him to play in the box, the slot, or as a deep half safety. So you're going to get some extra added value there with Bud Clark, safety out of TCU, being able to play the slot. Injury history, no major significant injuries reported. Has been one of the most durable starters in the Big 12 over his 6-year college career. Bud Clark lands in the 119 spot on our PTA big board. Had a great PFF grade there in 2024 where he was the 5th highest graded safety. Took a drop back to 91st. PFF big board had him at 184. Consensus big board 159. He gets a 5-point bonus, and it lands him with a 104.8 score. He's in the 119 spot on our big board, but worthy of about the 104th pick. So keep Bud Clark in mind. Again, this isn't necessarily about the Packers. We got a lot of other fans that are watching these breakdowns. So if your team is looking for a safety out of TCU, Bud Clark is one that's kind of on the rise. We'll see how he does at the Combine, Pro Days, et cetera, et cetera. Moving on, we got a Notre Dame guy. People are going to say, Clayton, did you change this list because you're a Notre Dame fan? No, I didn't. Malachi Fields, wide receiver out of Notre Dame. Just let me give you kind of my background in terms of watching Malachi Fields play. He was a guy that was a transfer portal cat. The Fighting Irish went and got him out of Virginia big body receivers before I read the scouting report that it put together for me when I asked it to. Okay. This big body receiver. He's a guy that makes contested catches. If Notre Dame had gone to him more often, I think his production would have been through the roof. Like he pretty much maximized all his opportunities at Notre Dame. However, with their system, it's not just a, hey, throw up a jump ball, throw up a jump ball, throw up a jump ball, right? So it's more of a more balanced approach, I guess you could say. A lot of RPO action, a lot of run game, obviously with Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price, who are both in the draft this year, which is pretty wild. Both will be – Jeremiah Love will be a slam dunk first round, or probably top 10 pick, maybe even top 5 pick. Price will probably fall to the second round, but some people are saying don't be surprised if he goes in the first, which is wild to think about. I personally don't think Price is first round talent, but you never know, man. It just takes one team to fall in love with him. So here's the scouting report on Malachi Fields. Scouting report: Fields is a physical, big-bodied ex-receiver who thrives in contested catch situations. At 6'4", he uses his frame to shield defenders and boasts a massive catch radius. While he lacks elite burn speed, his route running is refined for his size, and he is a devastating perimeter blocker. He can block, as Emilio would say. Injury history: suffered a broken metatarsal foot fracture, obviously, in 2022. That required surgery. He has played the last 2 seasons, both 24 at Virginia, 25 at Notre Dame, without any recurring foot issues. So he seems to be healthy. The foot fracture is a non-factor now moving forward. We should be good to go with Malachi Fields. Now, if you're a Packer fan, let me talk to my Packer fans real quick. You're probably going, Clayton, we are not drafting a receiver. I completely agree. There's no need to go draft a receiver. But you guys know, if the board falls just right, it's the best player available, hands down. There's no trade back partners. I'm not opposed to taking a big body receiver. You know, you never know when you take a guy like this in the 3rd or 4th round and boom, he pops, and you look back 5 years from now and go, thank God we took him. That's our number 1 receiver. That could happen, right? I'm not saying you should go after Malachi Fields. I'm saying if he were to fall to the 3rd or 4th round, doubt it'll happen. Swoop, I'm on board with scooping him up, and any other receiver for that matter that has a great grade. So he's 70th on our PTA big board. All right. Here are his positional rankings in terms of his PFF grades, starting in 23: 208, 156, 131. So you've seen him get progressively better the last 3 years in college football. The PFF big board had him at 100. The consensus big board had him at 89. All right. So that obviously puts him in the 106.7 range. For us, he gets the 5-point bonus. Daniel Jeremiah had him in the 45 spot. So again, we've got him at 70. DJ has him all the way up at 45. Walter Football has him all the way up at 34. So that puts his grade at a 60.2. So even though he's in the 70 spot, he's worthy of roughly the 60th pick in the draft. So again, we pick at 52. Am I saying you should go get Malachi Fields at 52? Absolutely not. There's so many other needs. I'm not even saying you should go get him in the 70s. I'm simply saying if for some reason this dude drops, I wouldn't be opposed to it once you get into the 3rd and 4th round. You know, it's kind of when the conversation needs to be had. Well, do I think he'll make it that far? No. I think he'll be an early 2nd round pick, most likely. Now, let's get into some positions of need here. Really, excited to talk about Lee Hunter. Lee Hunter is one of those dudes that if you've seen the screen grab here, if you've seen the thumbnail on YouTube, he's one of the players that we have there. He's really wild. It's been interesting watching him. He is a massive, massive human being. Lee Hunter, defensive tackle out of Texas Tech. Scouting report: Hunter is a powerful interior force with a quick first step for his 330-pound frame. He utilizes a dominant, quote, long arm move and heavy hands to displace blockers. While primarily a high-end run defender, he showed flashes in Mobile of being a chaos agent, pass rusher who can collapse the pocket from the inside. Injury history: no major injury history reported during his time at UCF or when he transferred to Texas Tech this year. Has maintained high availability despite his physical playing style, which is a good sign. I'm gonna make a player comp here, and some of you guys may be too young to remember him. It's just the first person that comes to mind when I seen him at the Senior Bowl is Richard Seymour. Richard Seymour back in the day, and I know that's a high comparison. I'm not saying that he's going to be as good as Richard Seymour. I'm saying when I seen him on the field, the first thing that popped is like, that's a huge human being who plays with violence, and he's a lot twitchier than you would expect a big guy like that to be. So, again, Lee Hunter, he comes in at the 52 spot on our big board, 155, 218, and then this year he jumped to the 38th graded highest graded according to PFF defensive tackles, okay, or interior defender as they call it on there. He was 53rd on the PFF big board. He's 48th on the consensus big board, gets the 5-point Daniel Jeremiah bonus. DJ has him at 26 currently on his big board, his top 50. Walter Football a little bit lower on. They had him around 80. So again, he lands in the 52 spot for us, worthy of the 49th pick with a 49.1 score. So again, that's Lee Hunter. Keep an eye on him. We're going to do a full breakdown on him, his scouting report a little bit later, because I do think that's one that, guys, that's right in our range. When we pick at 52, if Lee Hunter's there, I'd be okay with them running the card. I know we need offensive line help. I get it. And I know some are going to say Lee Hunter's more of a nose tackle. These nose tackles that are dominant, if you could find a dominant nose tackle, you could kick them to 3-tech. Just because we say we need a 3-tech doesn't mean, they got to play the large majority of their snaps in the B gap. It means, do they have the tools? Do they have the physical ability to play 3-tech at the next level? That's the big question. I'm not saying Lee Hunter's got it. I'm simply saying the board suggests that's right around the range where the Packers are picking in the second round. I wouldn't be opposed to it. All right. So again, that is Lee Hunter, defensive tackle out of Texas Tech. The time has come for Max, offensive tackle out of Arizona State. Now I'm going to try to pronounce his name. You guys ready for this? I've seen it pronounced two different ways. I'm going to say it how I think it's supposed to be pronounced. You guys correct me if I'm wrong. This is offensive tackle out of Arizona State, Max Iheanachor. I've heard people say Iheanachor. I've heard people say Iheanachor. I'm going to go with Iheanachor. All right. Max Iheanachor. I'm going to keep that wrote down on my note table so we can refer back to it over and over and over again. All right. Scouting report on Max. A developmental accent prospect. Iheanachor has elite movement skills in elasticity stemming from his background in soccer and basketball. When you watch this guy play tackle, to think that he played soccer and basketball is wild. Absolutely wild. He is still learning the technical nuances of the position, having only started football in 2021, but his rapid improvement during Senior Bowl week suggests a very high NFL ceiling as a starting tackle. Injury history. No significant injuries noted. He is considered a fresh prospect with relatively low football mileage. I'm telling you, man, the videos that we've seen of Max at the Senior Bowl, he looked dominant. And here's what's beautiful about this. When you look at where he falls on our PTA big board, now, keep in mind, he's going to skyrocket up other people's boards. So when we get to the draft, we may see him as the 69th best prospect. Somebody may take him in the first round, right? We know how these things work. Our board, if you want the most recent information of how people feel after all the buzz, the hype, and all that, you can just go to their boards. Our board is an early step process of, all right, here's how we felt after the college football season, and then we add in the hype as needed. But Max, his positional ranking, check this out, starting in 2023, 586th. Ugh. Then he jumps all the way to 177th. Then he jumps all the way to 63rd. So you got an ascending player. We always talk about that. The PFF big board had him at 118. Keep in mind, we have him 69th. The consensus big board has him at 71. That's right in the ballpark where we've got him. Okay. And then, of course, he gets the 5-point bonus for Senior Bowl activities. Daniel Jeremiah has him at 41. That's probably where he'll go. I'm not high enough on him to take him at 52, but him sitting at the 69 spot, if he somehow falls into the 70s and you can nab him in the third round, my goodness, what a pick that would be. So again, his overall grade for us is a 60.0, low number wins. So that suggests he's worthy of the 60th pick. However, he's sitting in the 69 spot on our PTA big board. I see the super chat there, R.R. Smith. Thank you so much. I'm going to hit, y'all get your super chats in. I'll hit them at the end of this segment. Greatly appreciate you guys and the support there. So again, Max Iheanachor is rising up boards. We've got him in the 69 spot. We'll see where he ends up. But as it sits right now, because one thing that will cause him to jump is when we get the Dane Brugler information in our draft board, that's going to cause him to skyrocket as well. Also, if Greg Cosell likes him a lot, he'll get anywhere from a 5 to an 8-point bonus as well. So keep your eyes on Max. All right, moving along here. Number 6 on the list, Kyle Louis. I think that's how you say it. I don't think it's Louise, but we'll call him Louis, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong. Linebacker out of Pittsburgh. All right. This is a guy that flashed all week long. You've seen the him batting balls down. You've seen him punching the ball out. I think he caused a fumble as well. There's a couple of different linebackers. I think the other linebacker made the list as well. That's really popped this week. And listen, I think we're in the market for a linebacker, guys. If Quay Walker hits the market and he's getting 12 to 15 million per, I think you move on from him. You've got Isaiah McDuffie and Edgerrin Cooper. You've got Tyron Hopper, who you're looking to work into the lineup. This is from a Packer fan's perspective. If you guys are watching for another team, just mute me out for a minute, all right? You're going to need another linebacker. You're going to need to fill that void if Quay does walk in free agency. What if somebody falls to you in the third or fourth round and you nab a stud and all of a sudden he becomes a starter alongside Edgerrin Cooper? Now you got him on a $1 million contract for the next 4 years. You're crapping in high cotton, right? That would be a heck of a pickup. So he sits in the 127 spot. 2024 grade is what's really helping him here. He was the 41st highest graded linebacker in all of college football out of 400 teams. Okay. He fell to 241st last year. So that's kind of the Jaden Reed mode. Remember, we talked about Jaden Reed wasn't on our radar because at the time I did not include into the deciding factor previous year PFF grades. I just did the recent PFF grade. Well, now we've got it to where it takes the best of the last two. So if you had a strong performance in 24, but not so in 25, it's going to acknowledge the 24 performance. That's called what we call the Jaden Reed effect. And shout out to Emilio for helping me work in the formula there to get that applied to the board. So again, 41st and 241st, 181st on the PFF big board, 159th on the consensus big board, and then he gets the 5-point bonus. Daniel Jeremiah did not have him in his top 50, although this is Daniel Jeremiah's list. So he's saying, hey, this guy's a riser at the Senior Bowl. Walter Football had him in the 69 spot. So we have him at 127, but his grade, 109.8, worthy of roughly the 110th pick is essentially what that grade is saying. So again, look out for Kyle Louis or Luis, however you say it, linebacker out of Pittsburgh. Again, another player that, if you're wondering why on our board he's lit up in the blue, I see stackbacker as a tier 2 position of importance. You see the greens, that's tier 1, tier 2. The whites are just, hey, they're below tier 1 and tier 2 in my opinion. I want stackbackers, I want post safeties, and then at the front, I want edge and 3 tech opposite of each other, right? So that's kind of on defense, the level of importance there. And I see we got a bunch of people climbing in here. If y'all would do me a big favor as you step in, hit the like button. We greatly appreciate that. And welcome into PTA, man. Hopefully your coffee is warm this morning. We got about 7 inches of snow, fresh falling outside. It's absolutely awesome. Fire burning, coffee going, talking draft, getting ready for the Senior Bowl. It doesn't get any better than this. All right, number 7, Derrick Moore. I know a lot of people just sat up in their seat. Derrick Moore is an interesting one, man. He's had a great week at the Senior Bowl. I'm excited to watch him play. Hopefully all of these players will play. Sometimes you see come game time, they might not play in the game, but you got to see them all practice all week long. We'll see if he actually plays. But Derrick Moore out of Michigan, he's currently in the 54 spot on our PTA big board. Solid prospect. I know some people are going, Clayton, our edge room is crowded. I know it is. It's very crowded. But, man, you can't have enough pass rushers. You cannot have too many pass rushers. You just can't. So Derrick Moore is one to keep your eye on. Scouting report, Moore is a heavy-handed edge setter who excels at speed to power conversion. He plays with a high IQ, using a variety of counters and a refined long arm move to compress the pocket. He is a winning starter caliber player who can be left on an island against the run or used as a relentless interior/exterior rusher. That sounds a lot like a young Rashawn Gary to me. You know, Gary would use that straight arm, just lock that thing out and drive him right back into the pocket. Also setting the edge. When Gary has played fundamentally sound, he's as good as anybody against the run, in my opinion. Obviously, he's been toward the top of the league, and he's led the Packers defensive line in run stops for the last however many years. So this is a guy that kind of reminds me of that. Maybe a little more twitchy than Rashawn Gary, although Rashawn Gary, had great combine numbers coming out, right? Injury history, maintained a clean bill of health throughout his career in Michigan's rotation. No major surgeries or missed time, so that's a positive as well. Again, Derrick Moore out of Michigan. 54th on our board. Here are the PFF grades: 118, 104, 19. An ascending player coming into the league. 77th on the PFF big board. 95th on the consensus big board. 5-point bonus for the Senior Bowl. outside of DJ's top 50, so he may be there when we pick, right? And then he's 42nd, according to Walter Football. His grade, a 50.3. I would have no problem with drafting Derrick Moore out of Michigan with the 52nd pick, especially if there's no offensive lineman sitting there screaming they're as good or better, right? So Moore is definitely a very, very interesting prospect there. Again, Derrick Moore, edge defender out of Michigan. That seemed to be one of the fan favorites this year. Up next, TJ Parker, edge out of Clemson. Is he actually an edge? I thought TJ Parker was actually a defensive tackle. I got to check this real quick. I hate to do this stuff live, but yeah, he is an edge. For some reason, I get a couple of those guys. I think I'm getting him and Peter Woods mixed up over and over and over. That's what it is. TJ Parker's an edge out of Clemson. Peter Woods is the defensive tackle out of Clemson. Okay, so TJ Parker, scouting report. Parker possesses a prototypical NFL frame with a powerful lower half and explosive get-off. After a dip in production in 2025, he dominated the Senior Bowl practices with a long arm move and was virtually unblockable. He is a high-motor defender who can manipulate blockers and create attack angles with technical polish. Injury history, he dealt with minor bang-ups during a high-snap 2025 season, but no major no major ligament or structural injuries have been reported. All right. So TJ Parker lands in the 58 spot on our PTA big board. So you can see Derrick Moore is slightly higher than him. And if we were to break it down into tiers, they would actually be in the same tier. So that's what we would call, you would need a cluster buster. You hear us say that a lot, right? Cluster busters are when our horizontal board is created, you'll be able to find that at patreon.com/PackerFan Total Access as we get a little deeper into the draft process. The horizontal board will have the positions listed across the top of the page, right? And then you'll have the prospects in their respective positions by their grade vertically, okay? So vertical board, when you hear us say that, this is a vertical board that we're looking at. The horizontal board kind of meshes everything out into position groupings, and then you get to see these clusters. So, for example, you would have a cluster here with Derrick Moore, edge out of Michigan, and TJ Parker, edge out of Clemson. You'd also have a cluster here of offensive tackle Caleb Tiernan out of Northwestern, and you would have also in that cluster, you would probably have like a Brian Parker. Maybe Brian Parker would be a slight one tier lower. We'll see how the tiers fall. What you'll do now is you'll take those cluster busters and, okay, we've got a position of need. Let's say we consider edge a position of need, whatever team you're rooting for, whether you're a Packer fan like us or not, okay? If you're looking for an edge, then you're going to come down to, all right, in the same tier, we've got TJ Parker and Derrick Moore. What's your cluster buster? What do you put more value on? Because the grade is the same, essentially, being in that same tier. What would you put your cluster buster on? Would it be Senior Bowl performance? If that's the case, both of these guys popped at the Senior Bowl, so now you got to go on to your next level cluster buster. Would it be bench reps? Would it be overall RAS, athletic score? Would it be quick twitch, i.e. your shuttle and your 10-yard split, things like that? Would it be an explosion grade? So you've got your cluster. It may be sacks. You may look at the sack, go, hey, he racked up way more sacks in college. Then you got to peel back a layer and look, okay, what level of competition did he get those sacks against? What's his pass rush win rate? All those things. Those are cluster busters. So again, what you're noticing here from DJ is out of the Senior Bowl, Derrick Moore and TJ Parker are two to watch for. Okay. So again, TJ Parker, 143, 25, 81, 23rd on the PFF big board. So PFF big board saying this is a first round pick. Consensus big board says 26. That's a first round pick, right? Gets a 5-point bonus. Daniel Jeremiah says he's 38th. So he's saying second round pick as it sits right now. Is essentially what that 38 is saying. 83 with Walter Football. That's what's dragging him down. 51.6 is where he lands. I'd be okay with taking him with the 52nd pick. But with DJ's information, he's probably not going to last to 52. He might last out of the first round. Of course, if he goes to the combine and torches it and gets a 995 RAS, all bets are off. He may be a top 10 pick. You guys know how this works. So, again, that is TJ Parker, edge defender out of Clemson. Up next, Jacob Rodriguez. This is the other linebacker I was talking about. Jacob Rodriguez, linebacker out of Texas Tech. Really like this kid. Another guy I would be okay with the Packers drafting if you decide to move on from Quay Walker. I don't like that you would probably have to take him with the 52nd pick, but if he were to fall to the third round, I would be okay with the pick. Here we go. Jacob Rodriguez, scouting report, a converted quarterback with elite processing speed. And you've seen that at Senior Bowl practice, guys. You've seen him breaking on the ball before it was even thrown. You've seen him read and recognize all throughout the practices. And also punching at the ball, high football IQ guy. He's a former quarterback. All right. Rodriguez is a turnover machine who forced 7 fumbles in 2025. He's a cerebral mock linebacker who diagnoses plays before they happen. While slightly undersized, his violent striking ability and pursuit angles make him a constant factor in the run game. Here's the thing. Quay Walker, I didn't have him on the screen. I apologize, guys. Quay Walker is a physical freak, athletic freak. What's his downside? The processing speed. It's like he doesn't really shoot that shot the way he should, right? Jacob Rodriguez, we'll see how his physicality, his physical traits, if you will, match up to Quay's as we get a little longer or a little deeper in the process here. But he's got that processing speed. What he may lack in speed and agility and acceleration that Quay's got, he makes up for in his ability to read and react. That's the type of prospect he is. I'm not saying he'll be a better pro than Quay Walker. All bets are off with all prospects. These guys may hit the NFL level and they be cheeks, right? But you're looking for those individual traits. What are we always aggravated about? Why is that guy running butt naked through the trailer park across the middle? Because it's a blown coverage. Why are they getting 6-7 yards a clip running the ball in specific sets and formations? Because our linebackers aren't keying fast enough, right? All those things come into play. Jacob Rodriguez, I don't know. He's looking like a very, very appealing prospect. So he is 63rd on our PTA big board, the 51st highest graded linebacker in 24. Okay. In 2025, this football season for Texas Tech, he was the highest graded linebacker in all of college football. So again, PFF grade, he's number 1. Scouting report says, man, this dude can force turnovers and he is cerebral. This is probably my favorite linebacker in the draft. And again, it's early in the process. These numbers are going to shuffle around. But Jacob Rodriguez, wherever he goes to play football, somebody probably going to get a damn good linebacker. Hope he doesn't land in the north if we decide not to go with him. 93rd on the PFF big board, 94th on the consensus big board. Guys, that suggests we may have a shot at him in the 70s with that second round or with that third round pick. Would you be opposed to taking Jacob Rodriguez with your third round pick? It's not offensive line, which we know is a need. It's not cornerback, which I think the majority of the fan base feels like is a need. Would you be okay with that? It's a tough question. It's early. We'll see as we get a little deeper in the process. So again, a 54.8 grade. It's actually, he's in the tier where you can justify taking him at 52. I'm not saying we should, but he's in that range, right? So very, very interesting prospect there in Jacob Rodriguez for sure. All right, moving along to the final one, we got another wide receiver, Reggie Virgil. This one's very, very interesting. All right, so Daniel Jeremiah lists him as one of the top 10 risers in the Senior Bowl. So he went out there and the lights came on and he played well, right? We've got him, check this out, in the 365 spot. People are going, whoa, Clayton. Is that an undrafted grade? It is as it sits right now, yes. So again, Reggie Virgil, wide receiver out of Texas Tech. Scouting report. Virgil is a vertical threat with track level speed and advanced route running tempo. It's really important to be able to change tempo as you're running routes, right? Create that extra separation. With you being able to control your tempo in and out of breaks with the routes, in the middle of a route, being able to manipulate the defender by slowing down and then picking up the tempo, catching up to the ball, tracking it. Ball tracking's got to be elite to be able to pull that off. That with a combination of late hands and the fact that this is a natural hands catcher, if he's not already a late hands catcher, him being a natural hands catcher, you should be able to teach him that really, really easy. And I mean that because the reason I mention that is because you change that tempo, you change that pace, and then last second burst, late hands, bang. That's an elite trait for wide receivers. He has excellent ball tracking skills. There you go. And a high football IQ, allowing him to align anywhere on the field. So you're telling me that this guy that's in the 365 spot for us, and I'll explain why he's so far down here in a minute. It ain't just us that feels that way. Reggie Virgil in the 365 spot. You're telling me he's a natural hands catcher. He's got track level speed. He's a vertical threat. He's got advanced route running tempo. He's excellent at tracking the ball and a high football IQ. If I were to remove the ranking, remove the name, and read that off, you'd probably go, damn, that's a first-round pick, right? Look for his name. Look for him to skyrocket up boards. Reggie Virgil, wide receiver out of Texas Tech. We got him 365. This is why. We didn't have a ranking at his position. We'll try to run that down for 23. In 2024, he was graded out as the 274th best receiver, okay? PFF did not like him. He dropped in 2025 from 274 to 358. So he had, according to PFF, he had an even worse year at Texas Tech this year. Okay. Now, their big board, however, says he's worthy of the 238th pick. They've got him in the 238 spot. Okay. So that helps him a little bit. So that lands him at 290. You're going, what about consensus big board? The consensus big board don't even have him on the board. That will change. And I don't like this about the draft process. But if we don't have a number for these guys early on, we have to put the number that comes in late. Now, sometimes they'll give you a chart and show exactly how bad they were. With the late rise and all the hype, I'll kind of meet in the middle with that number. And you guys will know that we met in the middle. I'll make sure that you're aware of that. So again, 290 gets a 5-point bonus, ends with a grade of 285 for us. So that suggests he's worthy of somewhere around being the 285th prospect. I think by the time this is all over, Dane Brugler's list, Dane Brugler may have him in the top 100. He may have him at 150. He's going to climb on this board. Greg Cosell may rant and rave over him, right? And that may give him a significant bonus as well. So keep an eye on Reggie Virgil, wide receiver out of Texas Tech. So quick recap, going backwards here. Wide receiver Reggie Virgil out of Texas Tech. You've got linebacker Jacob Rodriguez out of Texas Tech. You've got TJ Parker, edge defender out of Clemson. You've got Derrick Moore, edge defender out of Michigan. Kyle Louis, linebacker out of Pittsburgh. We've got Max Iheanachor, got it, out of offensive tackle out of Arizona State. We've got Lee Hunter, defensive tackle out of Texas Tech. We got Malachi Fields, wide receiver out of Notre Dame. Bud Clark, safety out of TCU. And the number one spot there for DJ Daniel Jeremiah is Kaelon Black, running back out of Indiana. You got some late round prospects. You got some first round prospects. You got some middle of the road prospects. Really, really interesting list there from DJ. I'm curious to know what you guys think. If you're watching this video back later, let me know in the comments, which of these prospects are you most excited about? Maybe you're not excited about either of them. Maybe you're like, they're kind of meh to me. Let us know in the comments what you think. And if you don't think any of these 10 are good prospects, who do you like in the draft? We want to hear from you. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, click the bell icon so you don't miss out on our future content. We greatly appreciate y'all swinging through. All right, let's